on the highway, let me talk you through this car. It's a C-Class estate in this case, so you know exactly what you're going to get. It's Mercedes' sort of mid-sized car, smaller than the E-Class, which is the full-size, full banana, but a lot bigger than an A or a B-Class. Perfectly suitable for people with sort of slightly older kids that don't require as much space in the back, and certainly not as much space in the boot either. Personally, for me, with two small kids with big car seats and a lot of, you know, kids bikes and all that kind of stuff, an E-Class would be a better solution. But this car actually belongs to somebody with older kids, so he is the perfect target group. Besides that, it's of course a Mercedes, so you know, that is a brand that you have to like and have a certain feeling for in order to buy this car, because it is expensive. No matter how you twist and turn it, Mercedes cars are expensive, and there's a lot more car that you can get for the same money. That said, with Mercedes branding and Mercedes money also comes Mercedes quality. Everything here is just nice. It feels nice, it looks good, it's well put together. There's no squeaks or creaks or rattles or anything anywhere. Everything is just solid Mercedes engineering, which is nice, and that's obviously something that you're paying for as well. I've said that many times on this channel, quality costs money, and in this case, you know, clearly the quality comes at a price, but it is a price worth paying, I'd say, because it's just a very nice place to be in general, this car. Now this is the 350e, which is the hybrid version, like I said, so that is a particular sort of car that you buy as well. Very interesting here in Holland for people that drive the car as a company car. There's a lot of tax reasons why you want to go hybrid, but even if you take that out of the equation, there's a lot of benefits for a hybrid car in general. This car, for example, can do about 20 kilometers, maybe a little bit more if you're careful, on the electric charge alone, which is very nice because for the school run, the shopping run, small little trips in and around town, you can just drive it on the battery. And it's a plug-in hybrid, so you can just plug it in at home in your wall charger and drive purely electric that way. So, you know, if you only do a few runs throughout the week in and out of town, and then your long drives in the weekend, it's perfect because you barely tap into your sort of petrol tank reserves, and you can just drive it electrically, which is obviously cheaper than buying petrol at the pump. Besides driving cheap and driving electric, obviously with a hybrid comes the benefit of added torque of the electric motor to your combustion engine. So this has a nice bit of oomph down low, you know, when you need it, when you need to accelerate at a traffic light, when you want to go for a gap, the electric engine cuts in and you have that extra oomph, that extra push of torque to get you through any kind of situation that you really wish for. Now the way Mercedes has integrated the whole system is actually quite nice. It's pretty seamless, I'd say. This is a 2016 car, so you know, as iterations go and as technology gets refined, I'm sure that a 2018 or a 2019 model is even more refined, but it's a very seamless experience depending on how you set the driving modes. In terms of real-world fuel economy, I always find those numbers a bit irrelevant because it all depends on how you drive. I'm sure Mercedes has some exciting claims on what it could possibly do in an optimal situation on a mountain somewhere with the tires pumped up, the battery removed and going down a hill. Great, and I'm sure there's also some purists that'll say that you can get enormous mileage in a diesel engine if you're only driving 60, which is also great, but neither of those numbers are really relevant in the real world. If you drive careful though, if you're, you know, intelligent about how you drive with traffic lights and traffic, looking ahead, you know, I'm sure you can get extremely good mileage out of this if you want to, but I think sort of in day-to-day use, you're not really going to care about it, and I don't think you're really going to buy this car for that reason. I think you're going to buy this car for sort of effortless extra performance coming from the hybrid system, and also driving electric when you want to sort of in and out town throughout the week. In here, it's a very nice place to be. I'm comfortable. Like I said, the seats are very nice. I fit in them. There's good visibility all around. I'm used to a Skoda Superb, which is a much bigger car, so the window in my car is far further back. So it's actually quite nice to have that visibility a bit closer to where I'm sitting. Overall, the cabin is very nice. It has a few, you know, Mercedes quirks, like the gear stalk here behind the steering wheel rather than here in the middle. And there are some things with the wipers and stuff that are, you know, typical Mercedes. But I'd say you're used to that probably within a week after getting this car. I have to say though, it is I have to say, coming from a Skoda Superb, of course this car is smaller, but it is a bit smaller than I expected it to be. Here in the front there is plenty of space because the seats are big, but still it's not as roomy as you might think looking from the dimensions outside the car. In the back it's the same story. Trying to put kids there in a kid seat is obviously possible, but then you have to move your seat forward quite a bit. For older kids that don't need the support seats anymore, there is plenty of room out there, especially because they have like a cutout on the back of the seats to make room for your knees. So it's all possible, but it's not something that, you know, has a lot of excess room available. So, you know, you could theoretically put some adults back there, but only for a very short journey, I think. And if you have particularly tall or large kids, I think it is also going to be a little tight back there. Which is a little odd, I'd say, because this is a car obviously aimed at people with families that require a bit more space. So, you know, I would have thought that there would be more space here in the back. Same thing goes for the boot. It's not small or anything by any means, but it's certainly not something, you know, with a lot of excess room where you can put more stuff. Again, coming from a Superb, obviously it's not a fair comparison because it's a much larger car. But still, you would think that there is more space back there. That said though, the boot is compromised by the battery pack that is down there. So I've been driving this car for a couple of days now, in and around town, on the highway, day and night, sort of my daily routine when it comes to driving. So what can we make of this car? What kind of conclusion can we reach? I think there's a lot to like. I think the Mercedes sort of experience, if you want to call it that way, is nice. You get quality product that is, you know, well put together. It feels more upmarket than, for example, a Skoda or a Volkswagen does. It just feels like a more premium product, which it certainly is, and obviously it has a price point to reflect that. I kind of like that this is a real life model as well. It's not a press car that is full of all the options that are available. There are certain things that are just not here, but it makes it a very realistic, real world car. This particular model, you know, there's a few things I would not have, like this piano black center console. I'm sure you can get that in different finishes as well. It's quite the fingerprint magnet, so I would personally get that in a different finish. Maybe things like a cooled seat would be an option that I would tick as well. And obviously this being, you know, a C-Class, size-wise, I would go for the bigger version, which would be the E-Class, because I just need more space for my whole family and all the stuff that comes with it. Now, apart from some personal preference in terms of interior trim and maybe a few outside things, as well as the size of the car, obviously the big thing is the hybrid drivetrain. Is that something that I would pick? Well, I think there's a lot to like about that system. It's refined, it's smooth, the way it switches between modes is, you know, very smart. And I think if you put it in comfort and you leave the car to decide what's best, you're going to have a very, very nice experience in terms of power delivery and performance out of the car. Like I said earlier, it gives you the smoothness of driving purely electric, which is just very nice, very linear, very predictable. And it gives you that extra oomph when you need it, when you want to overtake, when you're going for a gap in traffic, whether that's in town or on the highway. It's just a very seamless experience, and I'm very sure that if you drive this car on a regular basis, you're not even going to bother noticing that anymore, because it just does all the work for you. Coupled with the, albeit limited, but the electric range that you get, I think it's a very interesting proposition that you can have those short runs all electric without burning fuel. Obviously petrol being more expensive than electricity. And if you charge this at a public charging station, it's not going to cost you anything. And if you charge this at work, it's even better, obviously. Then you can pretty much commute, if it's not too far, all electric all the time. Now, obviously, there are downsides to the system as well. Weight is obviously a big one, with the batteries and the motor obviously making the car a lot heavier. But also, there's a lot of things that can potentially go wrong with the system. You know, it's a very complex system that is working very well behind the scenes, but there's just a lot more components that can go wrong. Rest assured though that Mercedes does this properly without, you know, proper testing. They're not putting anything on the car, so it is, you know, working fine, and you can rest assured that it will always be working well. Even if you have Mercedes warranty, it's even better, obviously. But I'm not too worried about that. Other things to consider are depreciation, for example. As battery technology gets better every day, this car is not going to be worth much when there is a battery breakthrough. So that is certainly something to take into consideration when you're buying this car privately and you're looking to get something back for your car when you trade it in for a newer model, for example. All things considered though, I think it is a very interesting mix in this time where we are in a sort of in-between state where electric is just not good enough yet and we're too reliant on petrol, but we want to move away from it. I think this is a good solution that sort of gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you performance, it gives you electric range, albeit limited, and it gives you fuel economy, but still the sort of rest assured feeling that you can always go to a petrol station when you want to, and that you can also drive this car long distance to Switzerland without having to worry about your next charging station, and God forbid the station isn't working, then you're stuck. So for now, for this time, I think it's a good in-between solution where you get a lot of extra performance and that nice electric range without the worries that usually come with driving electrically. Until, of course, electric driving becomes the norm, either with battery technology that will significantly improve over time, I'm sure, but also with regulations that are getting stricter and stricter every day. More and more cities banning combustion engines completely out of their centers. You know, we have to face the fact that a future of driving will involve electricity in some form. And I think, you know, a few years down the road, if you can have this car with a petrol engine for the range, but with a bigger battery pack and a more powerful motor maybe, so that you can drive, let's say, 100 kilometers on electric range alone, I think that would probably be a very perfect combination. I'm curious what you guys think. What is the future of driving? Is it hybrid? Is it fully electric? Or are we going to stick with the combustion engine for a little while longer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This was it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. That always helps us out a lot. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!